Hello everyone, and welcome back to Whimsy Creek Art. And I just wanted to take a little bit of time today to talk about the basics of paint pouring or fluid acrylics. There's lots of names for it. And so let's talk about the supplies, some of the supplies that you would need. This is for a basic pour. If you're going to get into some other techniques, you could maybe need some other supplies, but we're just going to talk about kind of a basic pour today. And always keep in mind that there's a lot of different recipes for the paint pouring, for making your own paint for fluid acrylics. There's a lot of different ways that people, different supplies they use, and so this is just how I do it. I just wanted to let you guys know how I do my paintings. So there's a lot of other videos out there on how some other people might do their paintings. So let's get started, and I'm just going to go through how I do mine. So some of the supplies that you would need is if you're going to mix your paint up in cups, you can mix them in just like cups like this. I use popsicle sticks, and you can let them dry and reuse them just to kind of help the environment a little bit. You can reuse your cups as well. If you let it dry in the cup, you can just peel, a lot of people waste and throw it away. You can actually just peel all this out and reuse the cup, or I just if it's completely dry inside, I just reuse the cup over and over and over again till it does get too thick and gunky. Then I start trying to peel it out. But so that's just a quick way that you can reuse your cups, and so a little bit less waste. And I actually don't use cups all that often. Actually, I use pre-mixed in a bottle, in a squirt bottle. I use water bottles with these tops is easiest. I do have a few with just regular old tops, but you can reuse bottles. If you mix your paint in bottles, it's a little bit easier. It does last quite some time. If you are going to pre-mix your paint in a cup, if you're going to mix it in a cup, it's probably only going to last about 6 to 8 hours out in the air to dry. If you do mix your paint in the bottles, you would, I've had them about 6-8 months mixed in together, and I just keep adding more paint as they get down low. And it's kind of helpful too, because then you don't go through so many cups and you have it available to go whenever you're ready. I just have it in reusable squeeze bottles. I get my squeeze bottles from the Dollar Tree. You can also use like a mustard or a ketchup bottle, or you can reuse any salad dressing bottles or anything like that. Now my paint recipe, well, let's continue with the supplies, and then I'll talk about my paint recipe. So you're going to need cups or bottles, stir sticks if you're using the cups. Now if you're using the bottles, you're not going to need stir sticks because you're just going to shake it in there. You're going to need paint. So some of the paints that I use, this here is a brand called Cheep Paint. It is my very, very favorite paint to pour with. It's kind of got a plasticky feel once dry, so I really like how it does with fluid acrylics. Here is just, I'll move that aside for just a moment. Here's a list of some of the brands of paint that I find are the best, that I find. You know, other people have other opinions too, so this is just how I do it, let's just say. So Liquitex Basics, that's another great one. Artist Loft, these are found at Michael's craft stores. I really like these paints as well. They mix very well. Then we have like the apple barrel paints. This is Walmart's brand of paint. Apple barrel paints work very well. I would stay away from the whites and like the super light yellows. They tend to crack. Let me show you an example. So this was an apple barrel white. I don't know if you can see the cracking. Once dry, the white cracked. So I do stay away from apple barrel whites or really light yellow. But any of the other colors in the apple barrel brand work really well. We also have the Deco-Art Americana brand. That is an excellent brand. I really like pouring paint with that. And then Deco-Art Americana just recently came out with premium paints. Those work really well as well. These, the metallics in the Americana brand, the metallics are your best, in my opinion, your best metallics to use with the paint pouring. So that's some of the brands of paints I use to mix my paints. And so I use, for my paint recipe, I use 1 part paint, 1 part Liquitex pouring medium. This is Liquitex pouring medium. You can get it at Michael's Craft Store, Joann's, any of those most crafts and art stores, or on Amazon. Then I use, so 1 part paint, 1 part Liquitex pouring medium, and then 2 parts Floetrol. Make sure you're getting the Liquitex based, not for oil based paints. But this is the Flood brand Floetrol. This is found at most home improvement stores or paint stores. It's pretty much a pouring medium as well. It's the same thing. It's a cheaper pouring medium actually, but it creates the cells really well. It helps in creating the cells really well. Then you're also going to need some 100% silicone oil. Now, you don't have to have the silicone oil. It depends on the look you're looking for, the technique you're using. There's many different types of techniques. And so, if you're wanting the cells, the cells are the really tiny little, let me show you. So the circles in this, those are called cells. If you're wanting that look, if you're wanting the cells, then you are going to probably want to have your silicone oil. So you're going to want 100% silicone oil. This here is treadmill oil. It was bought on, it's 100% silicone oil, and it was bought on Amazon. This will last a long time. You only put 1 or 2 drops per about 4 or 5 ounces of paint. So it'll last you a really long time. I also use this one here. This is an aerosol heavy duty silicone spray, CRC brand. And this one I found at Walmart. It's super cheap. And you only use a little bit of that. So you do not put silicone in your pre-mixed bottles. It, I guess, kind of evaporates in the air, so it's just kind of a waste. And you don't always want silicone. Depends on, you know, the look you're going for. So if you put silicone in your pre-mixed bottles, then you're stuck with silicone always, and it's hard to clean out and stuff. So you usually do not put that in your pre-mixed bottles. I put it when I'm ready to pour, if it's the type of pour I'm going to be wanting. You're also going to want a torch. So I have here, it's I bought this one also off of Amazon. It's just a creme brulee torch or a chef's torch. That one works the best for me. I've also had a couple of these, just bought it like the gas station, or also Harbor Freight, Walmart. A lot of places have them. They don't last as long. They're a cheaper beginner one. It's great, but they really don't last as long for me. I've gone through quite a few of these quite quickly. So, but a great beginner one. And then you're going to, of course, want a canvas or tiles or whatever surface you are going to pour onto. And I will have a video coming up on all the different surfaces that I pour onto and how I prepare each surface. And so you're going to need a canvas, and you're also going to need some like yogurt cups or something, pudding cups. I use pudding cups, yogurt cups upside down to put your stuff on. And so I just use recycled yogurt cups, pudding cups like this. And so I'd use it in a aluminum pan. You're gonna want some aluminum pans, and you can reuse these over and over and over again. And I put the yogurt cup or pudding cups or little fruit cups upside down in the pan. And then I put my surface on top of that. You're gonna wanna make sure that it's super level, because once you've poured the paint on there, if you have it off a little bit, you're definitely gonna have an issue with pouring at that point. And then you're also gonna want sealant. Once your pour is completely dry, you're gonna wanna seal it up. And so here is just some of the ones that I use. Depending on what project it is, I use the Minwax Polycrylic or Krylon triple thick spray paint, clear spray paint, or the Rust-Oleum, excuse me, the Rust-Oleum high heat clear engine enamel, and that's what I put on my coasters mainly. All right, let's talk about the consistency of the paint. Once you've mixed up this recipe, you're gonna want your consistency of your paint kind of like this. So you're gonna want it, the consistency kind of similar to warm honey or melted ice cream, kind of somewhere in there. If you'll notice, when I bring this up and I let it come back down, it kind of sits at the surface. It doesn't all just go flat on the surface right away, but it's not, it comes right off the end of there real easy in a nice stream. So I know that's where the consistency you're gonna kind of want. See how that's going. All right, let's do a dirty pour. So a dirty pour is when you take a cup and this is called your dirty cup, and you're gonna layer your paints in this dirty cup, your pre-mixed paints with the pouring mediums. And if you're wanting the sales, you'll have the silicone oil, but you're gonna want to put it in here, and then we're gonna pour it out onto the surface. That is a dirty pour. That's kind of one of the most basic ones, so we'll do that real quick. And for this right here is a 6" by 6" ceramic tile. So for a 6" by 6" ceramic tile, I tend to use about, this is a 2-ounce cup, and I'm going to use it, 3/4 of the way, or a little more than 3/4 of the way full for a 6" by 6" tile. Now this is a 3-ounce cup, and I would put this pretty much full for a 3-ounce cup for an 8 by 10" canvas. That's about how much paint you would want, because you always want to make sure that you have enough paint for your surface. All right, let's do a quick pour in this 2-ounce cup on this 6 by 6" tile. So here is a little bit of blue, and I'm gonna do the colors in like blues and greens and white, because those colors are, if you're just starting out, those are great colors to start with because they mix well together. You want colors that are gonna kind of mix well together and be happy together. So I have no silicone in these bottles. So I'm gonna, this time, take my heavy duty silicone oil, put just a little, not much. Now we're gonna keep adding the colors in. Depending on what technique you're doing, is how hard you're gonna squeeze the bottles and how hard the colors are gonna go in there. Now I want these colors to, I'm not worried about blues and whites and greens and kind of this gray mixing too much, because they won't mix so much. If it was colors like, if I was doing purple and green together, for instance, or, opposite colors, and I'm worried about them mixing, I may pour them in just a little bit easier, because I don't want them to mix together and the force of it to mix it together when I'm squeezing it in. But for these blues and greens, I squeeze it pretty hard, trying to kind of get it to go throughout. So I've almost got my 2 ounces. Now mind you, I'm going to do a dirty pour, so I'm just going to pour this all over the surface. And you can go diagonal like I did, you can go horizontal, whichever way you want to do. Notice right away we're getting some cells popping up. That's what these little round things are called. So I'm going to take my hand in the kind of the shape of an L. Put it here on the edge and bring that paint down and use my hand to kind of catch it so it doesn't all come off. Then I'm going to kind of bring it back to the middle a bit. Turn it. Do this other side. Then I'm going to bring it back to the middle a little bit. Turn it. Do this other side. Now I'm going to bring it back to the middle. And I have not torched this yet. So depending on what look you're looking for in technique, and I'll have later videos explaining each way, is when you're going to want to torch it. Right when I poured it, I could have torched it, or I've done all the tilting, and now I'm going to torch it. So just a moment, I'm wiping my hands off, getting most of it off my hands. Now I'm going to grab my torch, and I'm going to torch it. But I'm not going to touch the flame to it. I'd say about 3 to 4 inches above the canvas. All right, and you just kind of slightly move it around. You don't want to actually cook your paint. You don't want the fumes of that or anything. You just kind of want to bring that oil to the surface, pop any air bubbles you might have. And so there's a dirty pour. Now I'm going to want to leave this to dry quite some time. Okay, now I've made sure all my edges are covered and it's all good to go, and I've torched it. Now this tile is going to dry, and it's going to appear to be dry in about, I'd say, 3 or 4 days. But in order for they call it off-gassing, the tile needs to dry completely and cure for like 2 to 3 weeks. 2 weeks at very minimum. 3 weeks is a better estimate. And then you can seal the tile up. And I'll have a later video on my whole process of sealing things and which sealants I use for which surfaces, and that'll be coming up. All right, thanks for stopping by, and we'll have some more tutorials on how to paint pour here coming up. If you have any questions, please let me know. Comment down below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. And if you haven't already watched my 300 subscriber giveaway video, make sure to watch the video and make sure to read all the rules and see how to enter the giveaway, because I'm noticing not everybody has read the rules and is entering the giveaway properly. So if you want to, go ahead and check out the 300 subscriber video, and thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a wonderful day.